One wonderful, full house. A very good morning to you. Very warm welcome, our esteemed friends of the Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine Holdings, our guest of honor, Her Excellency Margaret Vono, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Singapore, from Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine Holdings, our founder and chairman, Dr. Zheng Shiqian, Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kwek Boon Han, Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Lim Ka Chuan, Group Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Ho Tak Chuan, from Royal Philips, Chief of International Market, Mr. Heng Diong, Chief of Operations, Ms. Sophie Beishu, from Philips ASEAN Pacific, Chief Executive Officer, Ms. Caroline Clark, Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Ivy Lai, and General Manager, Health System, Mr. Diedrich Zevens. Thank you for sharing a valuable time with us this morning to witness the opening of the Advanced Medicine Imaging Center, also known as AMI, and the Advanced Medicine Education Center, a partnership between Philips and AMI. I'm Elena, I'm your MC for today. Before we begin today's agenda, I would like to thank Dr. Zheng for allowing me to share a personal story. My grandmother passed away from pancreatic cancer 6th of June today, 13 years ago, due to diagnosis of late-stage cancer. So the role of grandma, as we know in our heart, whether do we address them by Nana, Granny, Nai Nai, or anything that is close and dear to you, when she passed away, it was the greatest love of a lost one. So an elderly, she was almost 70, she had great energy, she loves James Bond's movie, she can climb the Great Wall, and she walked faster than me. That's a shame. I was in college that time. I was majoring in biomedical engineering. And we were always in that studies field where we are looking at healthcare, life science, biogenetic engineering, and medical technologies. And I was always wondering, why can't it be diagnosed or detected earlier? What was wrong at that point of time? What can we do better? I was a granddaughter. It was not my place to say or suggest, but even if I could, there was barely any affordable options of advanced treatment available in the region. So today, it is extra special for me personally and very privileged to be part of the opening of this center. This is a hub for alternative therapy, advanced treatment, and research and development for advancing medical technologies. Today marks a milestone in Singapore healthcare landscape for an institution where we will focus on healthcare, quality of life, and living. It is my pleasure to know of the man who made all this possible. Not much introduction required, but still, the man behind all this wonderful achievement, the father, some may say grandfather to AMI, our founder and chairman of the Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine Holdings. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Zheng Shiqian.
Thank you. Her Excellency, Ms. Margaret Vono, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Singapore, Mr. Heng Diong, Executive Vice President and Chief of International Markets, Royal Philips, Mr. Kevin O'Reilly, President, Oncology System, Varian, Asia Pac, Dr. Himanshu, Dr. McDermott, founder of Angenics, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome. This is the first time I've been labeled a grandfather because I'm not even a father yet. So we are here to celebrate another milestone of our company, Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine. Some 10 months ago, some of you were here to witness the groundbreaking ceremony. Today, we are indeed happy to celebrate the opening of phase 1 of our project, the Advanced Medicine Imaging Center. This imaging center houses some of Philips' most technologically advanced imaging equipment, boasting many world's firsts. I'll let my colleague, Dr. Quek and Dr. Ting, to highlight some of their unique features. As we are celebrating the opening of Phase 1, we are already busy preparing for Phase 2. I would like to welcome you back before the end of the year, when our medical oncology, nuclear medicine, theranostic, and radiopharmacy centers open. At the last quarter of this year, we have another cause for celebration. That is when our proton therapy machine arrives. We will be the first proton therapy center in ASEAN, Australia, and New Zealand. We should be able to treat our first patient in the second quarter of 2019, thus completing Phase 3 of our development. We started this project more than 5 years ago. It has been a tough journey. There were no scripts to follow, and many a times we have to write it ourselves. Many have asked, why did we do it at all? But we were constantly confronted by statistics, treatment outcome, quality of life, and cost of healthcare. Do you know that 1 in 3 will get cancer in one's lifetime? And 1 in 2 will get a heart attack or stroke. In 2016, 14% of Singaporeans were over 65. Singaporeans are aging rapidly, and with increasing age comes increasing incidence of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, dementia, Huntington's, multiple sclerosis. At age 65, 5 to 7% will have some form of neurodegenerative disease. And by 71, this figure doubles to about 10 to 14%. And by 90, nearly 40% will have some form of neurodegenerative disease. I'm quite sure that everyone in this room has had a loved one or a friend who has been inflicted by one or more of the above-mentioned disease. We also realize that despite treatment and the ever-increasing cost of treatment, the outcome did not really improve the quality of life. This is when we set out to look for a sustainable healthcare model that is backed up by solid medical technology that can fulfill our mission of providing early and accurate diagnosis and to institute appropriate treatment with the objective of getting a better outcome, a better quality of life at a reasonable cost. These are our key motivators that continues to drive our passion, and I don't think there's anything better than that. We live in a fast-changing world, and in order to stay ahead, we have to move even faster. For this, I must thank many people. First, I must thank my partners who have invested in this project. All the money raised so far has been from people who believe a handshake is better than a contract. No one has ever asked me for projection or financials. And no one has asked me when are they getting their money back. And there are many of them sitting in this room. I want to dedicate today's celebration to them and to show them what their money has been used for. Singapore is a small country with a very limited talent pool and no natural resources. In order to stay with leaders in the health industry, we need to seek partnership with them. And I'm very happy and proud that we are in partnership with 3 global leaders in the medical industry. They are, of course, Royal Philips, Varian, and IBA Global. This is really remarkable, as we hardly know them 2 years ago. Today, we are in constant communication with their top management, as well as their research scientists. They have even allowed us to peek into their future and they have enough confidence in us to make this their show site and reference site. In fact, today we are also celebrating the opening of our education center with our partner, Philips. This will form the cornerstone for advanced medical training, scientific research, and collaboration. And we have just returned from Europe and America to look into certification programs for doctors and healthcare professionals. Please let me take a minute to acknowledge a very special person who is the main architect of this project. He is Mr. Diedrich Sieven, General Manager, Health System Asia Pacific, Philips. His do it and make it happen leadership inspires both sides to complete this project in double quick time. Thank you, Diedrich. Similar work in progress is being done with Varian and IBA, and an announcement will be made in due course. We are also talking to numerous parties to use our facility for research and collaboration. We are also supporting the effort of another company called Angenics in their funding and clinical trials in developing a revolutionary cancer treatment. So far, the result has been astounding. Clinical trials have so far achieved tremendous success, and more importantly, patients did not have the terrible side effects of chemotherapy, and many patients have achieved a very good quality of life. I will let them tell you more later on. We are not just a healthcare company. We want to be a company backed by solid medical technology that cares for patients' health. We will always be pushing the boundary in pursuit of the next breakthrough, the next treatment, the next cure. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Zheng. It is now my pleasure to invite our guest of honor, Her Excellency Margaret Vono, Ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Singapore. Ambassador Vono, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm honored to be here today for the opening of the Advanced Medicine Imaging Center in Singapore. Special congratulations to Dr. Zheng Xiqian, whose records of pioneering healthcare solutions in Asia is a testimony to his hard work and talents. Also, congratulations to the Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine and to Royal Philips on the completion of the first stage of this project, the creation of a world-class healthcare center. I believe that everyone in this room today is well aware of the necessity of initiatives such as these. We are all aware of the worrying statistics concerning cancer. It is the #1 cause of death both in Singapore and the Netherlands, responsible for more than 30% of the total death count in both countries. Statistics aside, I believe far too many of us, in one way or another, have had to face the consequences of this disease in our personal lives as well. Recently, I lost a close friend to liver cancer myself, and while undergoing the process of consultation and treatment, my friend often mentioned that the impersonal clinical approach of the hospital, that was in Leiden in the Netherlands, I have to admit, made the process even more difficult than it already was, for him as well as for his loved ones. And I find it heartwarming to see how this initiative focuses on the patient and his or her well-being, an approach that will be of great importance for the patients and for their families. Looking at Singapore and the Netherlands, we see similar challenges to address concerning healthcare. We are both small countries dealing with an aging population. We both are looking for ways to handle the rising cost of healthcare and to keep healthcare accessible to the public. And we both face the challenge of the digitalization of the healthcare industry. And the identical challenges have also led to a similar approach. Both Singapore and the Netherlands aim to solve issues by being smart. Progress can be achieved by quality, not only by quantity. And innovation is our way of facing our challenges, and this project is proof of that. Personally, I find it really wonderful to see that the bond between Singapore and Philips, which started when Philips first arrived in Singapore in 1951, is still healthy, and that the parties here today are looking towards a bright future together. I heard from the son, Peter Winsemius, of Albert Winsemius, that Albert, as part of his vision to have Singapore excel in electronics, personally traveled back to Eindhoven in the 60s to persuade the then Philips management that Singapore was an opportunity they couldn't miss out on. They had to invest more. And he said, hurry, or you'll miss the boat in Southeast Asia's massive potential. And he was right in foreseeing this, and luckily, Philips took him on. Now, decades later, Philips is still successfully investing in the region to the benefit of all parties involved. And I'm proud that it's such an innovative Dutch company full of research and development. And we are joining forces with innovative, distinguished healthcare professionals from Singapore, a collaboration of pioneers that share a personal approach of teaming up with hospitals and health system providers in order to understand the industry's challenges and needs. And the excellence in and really passion for innovation in healthcare brought the Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine and Royal Philips together. And the results are showing today. The pace and the ambition of this privately initiated project are really impressive. Merely 1 year ago, I read in the Straits Times about this project going ahead. And here we are signing the agreement, and we're seeing the state-of-the-art facility that has been built and is ready to take in patients. Now is a very difficult part, so bear with me. The center, which will rightfully claim to have the world's first and only fully digital PET-CT scan, the world's first dual detection-based CT, and ASEAN's first proton therapy center. And these high-tech solutions will play an important role in improving accuracy and efficiency in healthcare. It vastly improves the early detection of neoplasms, and it enhances the detection of female heart failure as well. I find it, being female, a massive gain, as female symptoms vary from the easier diagnosable male symptoms. The use of innovative technology not only improves the quality of diagnostics, it also increases cost effectiveness, resulting in accessible, economically viable healthcare in years to come, a very important aspect for governments given the rising cost of healthcare. And although the value of the Center for the Healthcare Standards in the region is evident, I'm also pleased to recognize its additional purpose. Diederik has already been awarded by Professor Zheng. It aims to educate other professionals to further improve healthcare standards. And by combining research and education, the Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine and Royal Philips not only acknowledge the importance of education to accelerate progress in healthcare, they actually facilitate this. And I think it's important that on moments like these, we realize that necessity can lead to intent, but it takes vision and courage to act upon intent. So let me conclude by saying that combining intent, innovation, and education to approach healthcare in a personal, patient-focused way is a great accomplishment. I am moved by the passion, the integrity and the transparency I see in all who participated in this project. The doctors involved, Royal Philips and the other companies. And I truly believe that this initiative will have a profound positive impact on healthcare in general and specifically to oncology in the region. And that, given the challenges we faced, is a great gain for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Vono. Now, please join me in inviting our Chief of International Markets, Royal Philips, Mr. Heng Deong, to deliver his speech.
So good morning, distinguished guests. Thank you for all being with us. Special warm welcome, of course, to Dr. Jen Jinkin, founder and chairman of the Singapore Institute, but also to his team. And of course, to Margriet Vono, our ambassador here, and other distinguished guests. A wise man said once that a vision without execution is a dream. A vision with bad execution is a nightmare. And a vision with great execution is success. And I'm looking to success. Because we're celebrating the opening of the Advanced Center of Medicine here in Singapore. And on a personal note, I lived here for 2.5 years. I, of course, worked for Philips in Toa Payoh, and also the region, and know how important Singapore is for Asia, and also this center, how important this can be. So that's also part of the vision that I know. And why is it so important? Because, as also the first speaker said about her grandmother, it's a one-stop patient-centric hub, where patients across the region can come for the best possible care. And yes, we talk about technology. Let's also talk about medical staff, the best possible doctors. Because people are of a very high qualification here in Singapore. And also it's known that universities already are lining up to work together with Dr. Jen. Now, what is this center answering? It's answering for high quality care, but also answering to a growing amount of people in this region having cancer. And the numbers are quite staggering, because if you look to 2008, it was 6.1 million, and into 2030, and that's only 12 years from now, we look to 10.6 million. So that is almost doubling. And that has, of course, to do with our lifestyle, but also with the fact that we're getting older and we need more care. So you might say it's a timely answer, and that's also the part of a vision, because visions can be far away. This is a timely answer. Now today there are limited resources and also not always working well together. And what we particularly like very much is how Dr. Jiang, in his vision, got us and of course other companies, also the government, investors, all aligned to deliver this great care. Now, we at Philips, we focus on improving people's lives by meaningful innovation, and we underline always meaningful innovation, and we do it via solutions. So it's not only the best possible technology or the latest technology, it's also about the best possible care in the most efficient way, in the most patient-centric way, but also taking into account that doctors, nurses work with equipment. So that brings us to the point that we all need to collaborate. And that's perhaps the biggest compliment that I can give to the team of Dr. Jane, but also especially to my team. And yes, it is Diederik, but also the people around him, that we have worked in a very collaborative way together, very fast, on a stringent timeline, but also, as we're going to see today, with a great result, because I understood You just got a license. How did you plan this? It's just fantastic. That in the week that you open, you have the license. I would like to learn later from you how you do this. So, yeah, I beg to differ. I don't think you're so. So, I'm proud for Singapore. I'm proud for the population. I'm proud for you. I'm proud for the team. I'm proud for all of us. This is, in Asia, the top center. You can't get better treatment than here. So that has to also give you a very warm feeling that this center is in Singapore. But let's not forget that we do this for patients, because we all have people around us. That might be your daughter, your son, your wife, your husband, or in the first case, grandmother. And for the loved one, but for everybody, we want the best possible care. And with that, thank you for the trust in Philips. And I wish you and your team and all of us that this becomes an even bigger success than you think it will be. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Henk. Next, I would like to invite Chief Medical Officer for Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine Holdings, Dr. Quek Boon Han, to give an introduction to the Advanced Medicine Imaging Center. Dr. Quek.
Oops. I got something. Oops. Oops. Sorry. Good morning, Your Excellency, Mr. Heng De Jong, Dr. Jing, friends and partners. A year ago, we were gathered to witness the marriage between Sam and Philips. Since then, we found a home in the Biopolis, settled down, we did it, conceived a child, and am now proud parents of Advanced Medicine Imaging Center. There were challenging times, family drama and all, but through it all, things were okay. Zillik. As we say in Singapore, things were shook. And we're still very much in love today, Diedrich. Okay. I'm very happy to report that, in my humble opinion, Philips have delivered the best imaging technology available today. Now, spectral CT, the latest CT technology, uses the data from two different X-ray energy levels to enable better lesion detection and characterization. It's been around for a few years, but has not been widely implemented because current technology requires two radiation scans with concerns about radiation dose. Now, Philips Spectral CT, with their unique dual layer detector design, requires only a single radiation scan. And this allows us to obtain spectral CT for every patient all the time without any discomfiture. Now, so far, Philips MR has produced some of the best image quality that I've seen. Philips is in the process of getting their latest compressed sense technology that will reduce the scan time for all anatomy by 50%. And for that, I have to thank Dr. Suvendra Das, the head. Where are you, Dr. Das? Thank you. Now, Philips InVol experience enables a patient to enjoy a video clip with sound during the MR experience, MR scan, and this really improves the patient experience. Now, if patients say that the MR was actually quite pleasant, and given a choice, they will not do an MR elsewhere. Now, Philips digital PET-CT with one-to-one coupling produces the best quality image count for small lesion detection, early diagnosis, shorter scan time, and requiring less FDG and hence less radiation dose. Now, 3 weeks ago, we were in Ohio State University in the US to visit Professor Noop about his moonshot project. Okay, his normal protocol requires 90 seconds to acquire the PET data for a single table. Using the Philips PET-CT, he managed to acquire the scan in only 9 seconds, which is a 10-time reduction, using a secret mix of recon algorithm, and the images were very good. So he's in the process of validating the data, and we hope to be able to implement it soon, yesterday. Well, Philips hardware and technology are all good and moit. That's nice. But we need a young, dynamic, a bit hack person, that means crazy, person to drive the center, sometimes into uncharted waters. Okay, after all, the machine will only go as far as the driver, except for golf. You know, where the best club will get you, improve your handicap. So, I would like to introduce our not so young partner, Dr. Eric Ting, the chief of our imaging services. His boring past life was a senior consultant radiologist, head of neuroradiology, head of research in radiology in a major teaching hospital. So I'd like to invite Eric Ting to tell us about this new center and his bunch of merry men. Eric Ting, if you please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Quek. Her Excellency, Margaret Vonner, special guests, friends, partners. I want to welcome you here today to the opening of our centre. And over the next few minutes, if you bear with me, I want to invite you into a little bit about our vision for the centre, what we're passionate about, what we believe in, and to let you in a little bit into my world as a radiologist, to see what we're all about at Advanced Imaging Medicine Centre. So I have slides, so I'm going to get them to turn off the lights as we go on this journey together. So I have a few stories to share with you. So the Beatles, what does the Beatles have to do with medical imaging? And one of the interesting things is how industry has always collaborated with medical technology. And an interesting story was when the Beatles were in their prime in the 60s, EMI was flush with cash, and that allowed them to invest in the dreams of this man, Sir Godfrey Hounsfield. Hounsfield was a visionary, and he believed that computers were the secret to unlocking the potential of X-ray. And if you look at that first CT scan, this is incredible technology that he came up with, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize for his discovery. And I like this picture of Hounsfield because it reminds me a little bit of a visionary in our midst. If you kind of squint, if you kind of squint a little bit, you see a young Dr. Zheng. My word, what is that? These were the words that Hounsfield exclaimed when he saw an image on the CT scanner that he had invented. And it was an image not dissimilar to the one that I show now on a modern-day scanner. But it's the story that Lee Rogers recalls in his article in the American Journal of Radiology in 2003, and it's a very interesting read. And I want to read this quote for you. On reflection, this incident brings into sharp focus the simple, stark truth that new imaging technologies do not come with instructions as to how they are to be used, nor do they come with instructions about how they are best applied in the care of patients. The inventor of an imaging technology does just that, invents. It is usually left for others to determine how and when this technology is best used. Here at Advanced Medicine Imaging, we have, thanks to Philips, the latest in digital technology, in imaging technology. And you've heard a bit of an introduction from Dr. Quirk about the ICON Spectral CT, our Ingenia 3T MRI, and the first in Asia Pacific, the first digital PET CT in the world, the Varian PET CT. But I want to tell you about the people behind the technology, and it's the people who make things work. And unfortunately, I couldn't get a picture of the doctors together, but we do feel like minions here. So that's me on the left. We have Dr. Chung Chi-Ching, our neuroradiologist, one of the best neuroradiologists, in my opinion, in the country. She trained at Queen Square in London in neuroradiology. And we have Damien Corley-Kin, the first locally trained specialist in both radiology and nuclear medicine. So we've brought together some of the best young talent to drive this technology forward, and I think that's important for what is essentially a medical imaging technology company. Sorry, that's how we feel. But I also wanted to let you into my world as a radiologist, because not many people know what we do. And this is one of the patients, since we've had our soft launch, we have been able to, we've been able to scan a few patients. And this was a lovely young lady who's been living with a brain tumor for the last 13 years. It's been slowly growing, eating away at her function and her independence. And what we do here is we want to provide information that helps patients to make decisions about their life, about their treatment. And we want to empower people with that information. And thanks to Philips, what we can do is not just show them, describe in a report how the tumor is growing, how it's developing, but we also want to show them, okay, let's show them the volume, the rate of growth, and using advanced software, we can map the tumor, we can map its growth over time. In addition to that, this is an example of a functional MRI. And what we do with this scan is we have the patient perform tasks in the MRI scanner. This is a simple finger tap, where we have the patient alternating fingers. And we can see which areas of the brain are involved. And one of the interesting things that we saw in her is she had surgery 13 years ago. And you can see that on the normal side, if I can show you, this is exactly the anatomical area that controls the finger. But if you look on her abnormal side, there's much more activation. So that simple task, such as tapping the finger, is activating far more parts of the brain in this patient. And we can see how this plasticity affects the patients. In addition, we can provide information about where the fiber tracks are using diffusion tensor imaging, and provide this information to surgeons who are planning an operation. It allows the patient to be better informed prior to surgery about what potential deficits they may suffer, and also for the surgeon to plan a surgery carefully around these fiber tracks. Now I have a warning here for anyone who's squeamish, right? This is a medical image. This patient went on to have surgery this week, at the beginning of this week. And what we saw during the surgery, and the surgery is done awake, mind you, right? We saw this is the same patient, and what she had was, we activate the surgeons involved, get her to perform tasks as she's having the operation. And we went back and saw, okay, when he activated this area in the brain, it causes a speech arrest. And when we look back at her speech and language functional MRI, we can see that these areas correlate exactly. So this is amazing technology that we can use, and we're really trying to change the way patients are managed and improve survivorship, which is very important. It's not just about following standards or convention. What we want to do here is we want to push the limits of technology. We want to see how far we can go. And this is a standard contrast-enhanced MRI image. This is the type of image that we were trained to read and we were trained to perform, and it's the standard type of imaging. But with some of the sequences that we have from Philips, we've seen, look, this is tumor spreading along the surface of the brain. And when you compare it with the standard image, it's so much more visible, so much more obvious, and that really helps, right? Not only can we see more, right, we can detect more tumor earlier. And if you look here, there is another lesion here. This is a metastasis in the brain. And when you go back to the conventional MRI image, you can't find this. You can't find this. So we're seeing more with technology. And this allows us, in this day and age, to treat more tumor, treat it early, and to have, hopefully, better outcomes. We heard a little bit about the spectral CT scanner, and I want to show you a simple problem that we have. One of the things that we have is when patients have metalwork put in, right, it becomes very, very difficult for the X-rays to penetrate the metal. You can see these black streaks are artifacts caused by the metal. With the spectral CT technology, we can tease out what are the high energy levels that can shoot through metal and give us a clearer image. And you can see that at low energy levels, the artifact is amplified, but at high energy levels, we can see much clearer. And this was our first CT scan. Our first clinical CT scan that we performed on using our Icon spectral CT. And you can see this is somewhat like a standard CT scan that you would get at any institution. You can see these black streaks around the metal, and it makes it very difficult to assess what is going on. But with the spectral CT, we can make those virtually disappear. And you can see now what the problem is. This screw, which is well embedded into bone, whereas this screw, which is loosened, and as a result is not fixing the fracture. So again, some 3D images. I'll move on. The spectral CT also allows us to see things clearer. And one of the challenges that we have as radiologists is finding the needle in the haystack. When a patient has a tumor or has had surgery, anatomy gets distorted. As radiologists, we fatigue, we become tired, and we lose focus. And one of the advantages of using this technology is that we can make things clearer. You can see this is a real case from Uniclinicum in Cologne, and this was a tumor which they missed, admittedly. And you can see on the standard CT image how difficult it is when you're looking at every part of the body to find where the tumor is. Sorry. But with the spectral CT technology, we can use things like iodine. This is a spectral magic glass that they provide, a tool that Philips has provided to make that tumor recurrence so much more obvious. It just stands out. And really, conspicuity is something that we all crave for as radiologists, making things stand out, making things more obvious, and really helps us in our day-to-day work. We talked a little bit about heart disease as one of the major killers, and we can certainly do imaging of the heart vessels, but with the new spectral technology, we can also image heart muscle in the same scan. And you can see this is a patient who's had a heart attack, and you can see the result of that vessel blockage is this area which is no longer receiving blood flow, and we can image that now with the latest technology. You've heard from Dr. Quek that we just received our license for the PET CT scanner. So this is something that we're truly excited about. This is a first in Asia Pacific, and I wanted to show you images from the scanner, but we only just received our license. So from Philips, we do know that we have improved detection and characterization of small lesions. We're seeing more tumors on the new digital PET CT compared with the old analog PET CT. We can use that efficiency to reduce the dose. So these are equivalent images taken with half the PET CT dose and in 1/10 of the time. So what we're seeing with this huge leap in digital technology is an advancement in imaging quality, in imaging speed, and consequently reduced dose to the patient. These are more images showing, and I don't think anyone misses the old analog TV, right? So once you do move to digital technology, I think we'll see astounding results, and I can't wait to get started on this. These are more images from Philips. But I wanted to leave you with a couple of quotes. This is from Jack Ma. I believe it's the technology that changes the world. It's not the technology that changes the world, it's the dreams behind the technology that change the world. And I think this leave you with this last image, because this is us, the little guy, right, riding the wave of technology into the future. And I think with our partners, with our investors and supporters, we can drive this technology forward. And I think as a team, young, adventurous, ambitious, and fearless, we can lead this technology forward. So I want to thank you all for coming here today to celebrate with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ting. Please join me in inviting Mr. Kevin O'Reilly, President for Varian Asia Pacific, to deliver his address.
Thank you very much, and Your Excellency, Mr. De Jong, Dr. Jiang, and all of our distinguished guests here today. I'm feeling really inspired by the message that I'm hearing here today. I think as we started off with some really great personal stories that show us the impact that cancer has on us as individuals. We've seen some of the extraordinary technology that Philips is bringing to the region here. And also as well, Dr. Jiang, his vision is a real inspiration as we move forward. And I'm really, really proud to be here on behalf of Varian Medical Systems to kind of also maybe be a part of that story as well. As was mentioned earlier, this will be the first proton therapy center, not just in Singapore, but also within the entire region of ASEAN and also in Australia and New Zealand, and that's an extraordinary achievement. And so we're very, very happy as well that we think that this will also be the first center to actually treat patients. So we're going to see real patient impact occurring here very, very soon. So this is a remarkable milestone for something that, as Dr. Jiang mentioned, was only a few years ago, just still at the dream stage. You know, the technology that Varian Medical Systems is bringing to the Institute here is known as the ProBeam Compact Proton Therapy System. And you know, in large urban areas and built-up areas, space, it can be really expensive. It can come at a very, very high premium. And in fact, in many cases, can't actually be acquired at all. And often in the past, this has really limited the choices for proton therapy for many sites, and they've had to make compromises that affect treatment quality and patient care. But here at this institute, they will be the first group to use what we call the ProBeam Compact Proton Therapy Center. And that is a system that allows them within a small space to take advantage of the highest technology with no compromises for patient care. One of the things that we feature on this system here is the idea of a 360-degree gantry, which is not available on any other system in the world today. And what this allows us to do is to access a patient's tumor from any angle. And really what that means is that we can improve the quality of the treatments and we can have a better outcome for patients. My company, Varian Medical Systems, we're not as big as Philips. We're based out of California, in Palo Alto. In fact, we're an offshoot originally from Stanford University. And we have been around for about 75 years. You know, and for most of that time, we have been a leader in radiation oncology. In fact, in our company, we are solely focused on oncology. Our vision as a company is a world without fear of cancer. And you know, we thought very carefully about what our vision would be as a company. And for us, we started with the idea of patients. It's all about patient care. And when we thought about the patients, one of the things that we honed in on was the emotional response that a patient has or the patient's family has when they're first diagnosed with cancer. And we think that's fear. And that fear expresses itself in multiple ways. But two of those are fear for yourself. How will I be treated? What are my outcomes? What different alternatives do I have? And then we also thought about the fear from their family, because cancer is an extraordinarily expensive disease in many cases, and it can be devastating financially. And we believe that radiation therapy is a core technology that can address both of these fears. So we're very, very happy to be able to move forward in that. You know, as a leader in radiation oncology, you know, we think that takes many forms. And one area that we think we need to express our leadership in is a continued commitment to research and development and collaboration with clinical partners around the world to inform and drive that research. Today, Varian spends over $200 million US annually on research within radiation oncology, which is actually more than all of the other participants in this space combined. And there's many benefits that we've got as a community from those investments. We've seen tremendous advances in linear accelerators, which are more traditional radiation therapy. We've seen tremendous advances around the software that helps us improve the quality of treatments using those. But recently, we've now seen the emergence of proton therapy as you know, now the leading-edge, state-of-the-art approach to radiation oncology. You know, radiation oncology, radiation therapy, can be used to help over 60% of all cancer patients in the world today. You know, we think that proton therapy has a pivotal role to play in that space, particularly when it comes to very, very difficult to treat cancers, and even more so when it comes to pediatric or childhood cancers, where the risks of recurrence are something that we really, really want to avoid. You know, in the United States, we actually say that radiation therapy, based on 60% of patients, that about 1 in 7 patients will actually be treated by Varian technology in their lifetimes. And this helps to really kind of ground us in the kind of the personal cost of what it is, and it makes it very important for us to put the patient at the center of everything that we do. Here at at this institute, we think that there are other aspects that can really help drive our community forward, and those are namely research and education. We're here in the Biopolis in the same region as A-STAR. We've got local universities here, and we're going to have state-of-the-art capabilities with proton therapy available to us. And so we believe there are unique research opportunities both within the Institute and for people within the environment to come together to work on how we can improve care for our patients. We're also really excited by the potential for the Institute to participate in international multi-center clinical trials around proton therapy that can help us to understand even more how this particular form of therapy can help patients and how we can increase its utilization around the world. And I think it's safe to say that Singapore now is going to become a member of a very exclusive and short list of countries that actually have this capability. So very proud of that. Training is also something we think is fundamental to the success of our community in oncology. There is, in fact, a worldwide shortage of qualified oncologists, medical physicists, and radiation therapists. And we believe that we have a role to play in helping to educate more and more people so that we can deliver this care to people as they need it around the region. And it's extremely exciting that we will actually also, along with Philips, have the capability here within this institute to actually train people on the latest in technology and on the latest of equipment here as well. And so we think that this will affect far more people than just the people that will be in this institute. Along with that, of course, we're looking forward to the Institute being a center of excellence for us and to be a reference center so that we can share with other people how this technology can help. And so I'd like to just end with that. I'd like to offer my thanks again to Dr. Jiang and his team. As I mentioned, we're tremendously inspired by your vision and your drive and execution around this. And on behalf of Varian, I'd just like to say thank you for letting us to be a part of that vision and share with you on this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Our next speaker will share an exciting and revolutionary cancer treatment using targeted EDV nanocells. What is EDV? He will tell you all about it. Please welcome Dr. Himanshu Brahmbhatt.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Jiang, Your Excellency, and of course, distinguished guests, and a fantastic team of radiologists, oncologists at AMI. It's been a great pleasure in the initial stages collaborating with this excellent group of not just oncologists, radiologists, but also great scientists, great visionaries, great thinkers. Now, what I'd like to describe is the potential collaboration with AMI in the phase 2 part, which is what we would consider a theranostic step of project, and how that evolves, I'd like to describe that. Now, at Engenic, which is an Australian company, biotechnology company, Jennifer McDiarmid, who's seated here, and myself, we founded this company. And what we have developed essentially is a nanocell. It's a tiny little nanocell derived from bacterial cells. And this little nanocell is only 400 nanometers in size, And what we can do is we can load a range of different anti-cancer drugs, nucleic acid molecules like siRNAs or microRNAs, and of great interest to AMI would be the fact that we can also load radiopharmaceuticals and radiolabels in this little nanocell. Additionally, because these little nanocells are derived from bacteria, they have little sugars on their surface. And to these sugars, we can attach molecules called bispecific antibodies, where one arm locks onto the sugar, and the other arm can be targeted towards any cancer cell surface protein that we want to target. And it is now well known that many of these solid tumors, they are associated with well-known proteins are known, like epidermal growth factor receptor. These are well-known proteins, and almost 70% of solid tumors express these kinds of proteins on the surface. So essentially what you have is a three-component system, either a toxic payload within the nanocell along with a targeting system on its surface, whereby it can target specific proteins on the surfaces of cancer cells. Now, in terms of when these particles are injected in the blood system, and in all our patients, the injections are only 20-minute injection, unlike conventional chemotherapy, where over a couple of hours, toxic drugs are infused into patients. This is very straightforward. It is simply a 20-minute injection, and these particles, being 400 nanometers in size, they travel around in the blood system, but they are too big to fall out of the sealed blood vessels. So they are retained within the blood vessel system. Only thing is, wherever there's a solid tumor, any solid tumor, it is well known that all solid tumors have blood vessels that are all leaky. So they have fenestrations or holes within those blood vessels surrounding a solid tumor. So through these little holes, these little particles, they are pushed out. And they drop out into the cancer environment within the first couple of hours. So post-intravenous administration, in the first couple of hours, a lot of particles will enter into the tumor environment. And once they are in there, then because they have the targeting system on its surface, it locks onto the tumor cell surface receptor where we have targeted these particles. And when that lock happens, every cell has an inherent capacity that they will swallow the entire particle and drag it in. It's like a Trojan horse. So the entire nanocell is dragged inside the cancer cell, and within all cells, there is an inherent little vacuole known as a lysosome, and within the lysosome, the particle is broken down. So the Trojan horse is broken down, and all the soldiers, being the drugs, are released, and that's how these tumor cell killing part occurs. Of great interest to note here is that these particles are only getting into the cancer environment, and they are not seeing the normal parts of the body. And that will come into the imaging part. It is very important that if you can have a particle that only goes and drops out into the cancer environment, and if it had a light on it, through such very sophisticated imaging systems, you could actually image a tumor much more accurately, probably even tiny small tumors could be possibly imaged. So having said that, I would just like to show you some of the highlights of what we are observing in patients in our various clinical trials. So we've done several phase 1 clinical trials because, given that these nanocells were derived from bacteria, we had to actually do several studies in cancer patients to show that, first of all, it was safe, what sort of a dose we could administer in patients. So these were phase 1 trials, and all of that has been completed. But I'll show you a highlight of a mesothelioma. So the first highlight I'll show you is our current clinical trial that's ongoing at Johns Hopkins Hospital in the United States and also at Lenox Hill in New York, where we are treating patients with recurrent glioblastoma, which is a very nasty form of brain tumor. Now, in that, at a phase 1 level, we had to first do 3 patients where we give only a mouse dose, And then once safety was demonstrated, we could go higher to what we consider as an efficacious dose. And the very first patient is this person, and again, here I am allowed to show the identity of the patient because recently, just last month, CBS television in the United States picked up the whole story because, and he was interviewed, and including the neuro-oncologist. What had happened here is that this person had gone through surgery, failed, then gone through chemotherapy, failed, standard story as we all are aware of. And then at that point, the frontal lobe tumor where it was impinging, the man got paralyzed waist down. And so at Lenox Hill Hospital, he was given a walking frame, and he could barely walk with that. And he's a little lovely child, and he was in a desperate situation. And he, again, I think, as you pointed out, fear. That fear factor is what first comes to mind. Cancer, oh my God, I'm going to suffer, horrible death, financial, all this. That fear is a nasty thing that happens to people, and this is what we see routinely. This is what's happening to people. Anyway, having failed everything, he was put on our trial, and after just 7 doses, these are 7 intravenous injections, 1 dose per week, and the person goes home, continues normal living. The first observation by the neuro-oncologist was he came to the hospital without the walking frame. And he started walking again. They immediately did the MRIs, and they found this tumor had shrunk so dramatically. So where it was impinging, fortunately, he hadn't lost those neurological functions, and he was walking again. So anyway, this patient's doing very well. Now, that is in recurrent glioblastoma situation. I'd like to show you another case. And again, I'm allowed to show the identity of this patient because this was again picked up by the media in Australia very quickly. Again, a dramatic result. And this was in our mesothelioma trial. In mesothelioma, this is like a very nasty form of lung cancer. Australia has a serious problem with mesothelioma because of asbestos from the mining industry. And so this particular trial, what we saw here was, what you see here is an FDG PET scan where there's a very large tumor burden, very heavy tumor burden in the lung. In these phase 1 trials, we are only allowed to treat patients who are at an end stage. So they have gone through all the forms of chemotherapy, they failed. All these patients are at the point of palliative care. So they're simply going to be put in palliative care, and that's the only time when in a phase 1 study we are allowed to treat these patients. Now, at this point, when the burden of disease is so strong, so heavy in the lungs, all of these patients are on oxygen, they are being drained, the liquid is just pouring into the lungs. So every few hours, the liquid has to be drained out of the lungs. And so the outcome for these patients is pretty abysmal. Despite that, what happened here is that after only 8 weeks, which is 7 doses were given, again, 1 dose per week for 7 weeks, and what you see here is the tumor burden had almost completely disappeared. This is now published in the American Journal of Respiratory Medicine and Critical Care, and this was a dramatic result that just in 7 weeks, not only did the tumor burden disappear, but his lungs had started to heal. The pleural lining, where the fluid was flowing in, all of that started to heal up. He's a New Zealand person, and he loves hiking in the mountains. So, well, that's what he's doing now. He's 3 years out. There's no sign of the tumor, and he's continuing his normal life. Last I heard was, reminded me of Dr. Zheng's story. Last I heard, he got married. And just like when Dr. Zheng said, he's being deemed as a grandfather when he's not even a father yet. Same. I'm not even married yet, and he's got married, So that's the wonderful thing that we'd like to see with these kinds of amazing advanced imaging centers. And if one can bring a pool of talent that can have a complete view that advanced imaging plus potentially theranostics, and if you can have a center that can accomplish all of this for people and take that fear out of people's hearts. Once and for all, you can say that, okay, if the situation is that bad, there are people on this planet that we can work together, and we can work together in such a way, can put all of these technologies together and bring fantastic outcomes for cancer patients. So just last point I'd like to make here is that the response rate in our mesothelioma trial was over 69%. You know, when people are in palliative care, you don't look at 69% of patients actually derive clinical benefit. So the minimum they got was stable disease. Many of them got partial responses, some of them got complete responses, and the median survival in those patients is currently out by 41 weeks. When I said, you know, it is usually about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, we are out by 41 weeks. This data has just been published in the lead cancer journal, Lancet Oncology. And last case I'd like to make is this lady, end-stage pancreatic cancer, one of the horrific cancers that we we all know that in pancreatic cancer, again, the outcomes are very, very bad. The usual treatments are, you know, standard surgery, first line of therapy. Second line of therapy is so bad, chemotherapy, that there are 5 different drugs that are dumped into patients, and patients don't even survive that. Anyway, this lady had gone through all of that, failed everything. At that point, her body weight was down to 46 kilos. This is like literally skin and bone. At this point when she was lying there in bed, you know, and you think, oh my God, what she was before and what she is now. Very, very sad case. The oncologist said that it would be foolish of us to try and treat her because she probably was going to survive maybe a couple of days. That was how bad her condition was. Jennifer and I, you know, looked at each other when we had actually taken the dose to the hospital. So we were allowed to do a compassionate case study here. So this is not a clinical trial. In Australia, Therapeutic Goods Administration allows us to do compassionate case studies if the patient and the oncologist, they are all in agreement that, okay, fine, nothing else can be done, okay, fine, try it. So we looked at each other and we felt that what use would this life be if we were to exhibit a greater fear than the cancer patient? The cancer patient is dying. If you want to really do something, you're not going to say no at that point. You're going to try it. You're going to go for it. We went for it, the best thing we ever did, because after 5 doses, her tumor markers plummeted. She did remarkably well. She just went back to her home. You know, her son lived in Moscow, you know, came over to see her. 9 extra months she survived normal life with her family, had holidays, whatever, bicycling, all sorts of things. Her body weight went up to 50 kilos. Unfortunately, just in March this year, we lost her because she had a fall in the bathroom. And at first we thought maybe the tumor had come back and, you know, she died from the tumor, but no, the oncologist told us that she had actually suffered a brain hemorrhage because she had fallen on the bathtub and had injured herself. Anyway, we lost. But in pancreatic cancer at an end stage, getting an extra 9 months like that with perfect quality of life, no toxic side effects. Over 1,000 doses have gone into our patients, and the only toxicity we are seeing is there's a slight rise in body temperature after the dose is given, about 1 hour after the dose is given, there's slight rise in body temperature, about 0.5 to 1 degree. And the other thing is some patients get a little bit of shivering, and it lasts for about 10 to 15 minutes, and that's about it. So anyway, I think I'll stop here, and thank you very much, Dr. Zhang. We look forward to collaborating with you and, you know, driving your vision even further. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brambat. Interesting lineup of clinical and industry speaker from Dr. Quek, Dr. Ting, Dr. Brambat, and Mr. Kevin O'Reilly. It is indeed the continuum of care where we look at the diagnosis to treatment. And of course, treatment here, we are talking about treatment with little or no side effect. And I think that's very important because the fear sometimes will overcome us, and we need to know that we are in good hands. Now, next, the launch moment that we have all been waiting for. I would like to invite Her Excellency Margaret Vono, Mr. Heng Deong, and Dr. Zhang Shiqian on the stage for the opening of the center. So, on the count of 3, we'll need 3 of you to activate the touchpad together for the opening of the center. Okay? Count with me. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Congratulations to Dr. Zheng and the team on the opening of the Advanced Medicine Imaging and Education Center. Please remain on stage while we invite our special guests from Philips and Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine Holding to join you in a photo moment. Dr. Kwek. We've all paid good money and time. It's good to get into the photos. Here. Kindly remain seated while the first group of our guests proceed for a site tour. The first group, the site tour, will be led by Dr. Zheng. Please remain seated. We have some logistic announcements. So, ladies and gentlemen, You are all invited for the Advanced Medicine Imaging Center site tour on level 1. So a brief introduction to the site tour. In the center, you will be visiting the radiology and nuclear medicine section, where you can get a glimpse of the Icon Spectral CT, the Ingenia 3T MRI with ambient experience, and the world's first and only truly digital Varios digital PET CT. So the site tour will be conducted according to the time shown. You can just look at the badge you have. Do you have a pin on your, yes, you have a pin, and there's a flower. You can identify your grouping by the color of the flower. So each of the group, we will call for the group at the level 2 lift lobby. From there, we'll have ushers. We'll bring you to level 1, where the doctors will explain more to you about the center and the Philips solution along the way. We also have the education center on the left outside the auditorium. And we have application specialists there to demonstrate the usage of our IntelliSpace portal for clinical and education purposes. So lunch will be served outside the auditorium. I will not stand in between you and the lunch and the coffee. It smells very good. Once again, on behalf of Singapore Institute of Advanced Medicine Holdings and Philips, we thank you for sharing this special moment with us. Enjoy lunch and have a good day ahead. Thank you.